Hi, my name is Vanita Chandrasekharam. I work as a yoga instructor as well as a drama therapist, which means I use drama and creative arts in the practice of psychotherapy. So, one thing that a lot of my friends ask me is, at least those who know me well, is how do you have the courage to just drop everything and go towards your calling, right? Firstly, I'd like to say the calling means like this inner voice that keeps um, directing you to go towards something, right? And a disclaimer here, the calling, the inner voice does not um, ask you to do any things which are harmful to yourself or anyone else. If that is happening to you, please seek the counsel of a mental health professional. It's really important for your own safety as well as the safety of everyone else around you. So anyway, going back to the calling. So it's hard for me to explain that. So I'm going to give you an example of the calling which led me to become a drama therapist. Um, Many years ago, an idea occurred to me. Why don't I combine the two things that I loved most, which is dance and psychology? I'm also trained in both the areas. So that thought has been on my mind, and it keeps kind of coming back uh, over a period of 3 years at that time. And I always wondered but never really and I did look for courses or see what I could do, because in Malaysia at that time we did not have anyone who did that, such as a drama therapist or a dance therapist did not exist at that time. And so I thought, okay, let me just go look at courses, and that's about all that I did. And one year I found myself in this place where I had the most wonderful boss, a wonderful colleagues, perfect job. Everything seems sweet on the outside, you know. However, I felt within me a stagnation, and I thought, I, there was just this uncomfortable feeling. This like, is this all there is to life? It felt so. I felt so stuck in a rut, and I kept hearing that voice. Okay, it's about time. Go do this, and it so happened at that time I also met someone who was a dance therapist, but she happened to have moved from France uh, to Malaysia because her husband had a job here and she could not work because of the visa restrictions. So she joined my dance class. We became good friends, and that inspired me to actually take action of applying for a course on dance therapy to a couple of universities in the UK. I actually got a response, but it was for drama therapy because their dance therapy course in that particular university had to be um, dropped as there was not enough students enrolled for the course, for their dance therapy course at that time. So that at that point I was thinking, should I do this? Because, and then I also kind of looked at my resources, and then I realized I'm only able to afford to pay for only one semester and then maybe a couple of months of living expenses. And then I thought to myself, okay, if I don't do this now, I will never do this. And and then the other thing that came up was, will I actually die if I do if I do that? Do if I go ahead and did the course anyway, or found a way to do it? And I said, and then I thought to myself, no, I'm quite resourceful. I think I will somehow manage it. And it was a risk. So what I did was, I thought, okay, I will buy a two-way ticket, um, and go under a visitor's visa, and see what happens next, And so that's what I did. I took whatever money that I had, bought a two-way ticket, went under a visitor's visa, because I couldn't get in order to apply for a student visa, I will have to show that I have enough finances to support the whole course and the living expenses for the 2 years that it was going to take for me to do that master's in dance or drama therapy at that time. And it was the worst time ever, because the exchange rate between Malaysia and where I'm from and UK was like 7 times more. And usually it's just the pound is about over 5 times more than a Malaysian ringgit. So it was possibly the worst time financially to go as well for me. But it just felt, this is the time, just do it. And I thought, okay, this voice is persistent, and I'm like going for it. And I bought the ticket and got on a plane and went, and I accepted the offer for drama therapy. um, I also went ahead and when I was in the UK, I also went for other auditions of dance therapy and realized that drama therapy was more relevant to the type of dance that I do as an Indian classical dancer. Um, and so I was so glad that I found that course, because it was exactly what I was looking for. Uh, that drama therapy was exactly what I was looking for. However, having taken the journey, um, it was not an easy task, because I'm going there without enough finances, and I had to be willing to do whatever it took for me to support myself as much as possible, and willing to ask for help. So while I was there, I moved like 8 times, and I had to do whatever job that came my way that would help me pay for my living expenses. And somehow or other, I just stuck on my course. And I had this wonderful group of friends in my course mates, and a few of them who became my really good friends, um, were more worried about me, thinking about how I am going to be able to afford to pay for my fees for the next semester. And for whatever reason, I never really worried about it. But usually it's, there were, I somehow, I remember once I even had this conversation with a friend. It's like, oh yeah, I said he's asking me how I'm doing, and I was thinking, you know what, I'm good. I'm just a bit worried about my next semester's fees. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. And he willingly offered to loan me the tuition fee for the next semester, and that is completely unexpected. I didn't even ask him. I didn't even get to the point of asking him, or I didn't have the intention of asking him at that time even. But that was such a generous offer. And for me to also ask for help from others, the other semesters which I needed financial help, I had to ask people. um, and so this journey allowed me to, or made me become humble, in asking, because previously I used to have this idea like, okay, I want to be financially independent and I will not ask anyone for financial help. But there are times that this time it felt like, okay, I don't have a choice, I have to ask. And so I did, I somehow, the money came somehow or other, whether it is offered by someone or I had to ask for help, and do whatever it took for me to stay on course. There were times where I couldn't afford a train ride back home, and I used to stay in the library because I missed my bus ride, which is much cheaper than the train ride. And I had to stay in the library also because I had to do a lot of the research for my thesis and stuff like that. And I remember eating only sandwiches for like a few months, and my housemates at that time were wondering, how come you only eat sandwiches? And I was thinking, because I can't afford to eat anything else. But those are the times that it was difficult going through that period, but it certainly was um, an interesting time in my life. And that is why I also, one of my favorite workshops and training which I run is Hero's Journey. The term was coined by Joseph Campbell. So anyway, that's my story of following the calling, or my calling at that time. And I do believe that we will have different callings at different period of our lives. So uh, how do I how did I manage it? I don't know. This persistent voice within me kept or within me or from wherever, it kept directing me to do certain things, and I just followed it. um, I think if it's not something I initiated, because I couldn't have thought about it on my own. So it's this, I went with full faith something things would work out. And if it doesn't, the worst case scenario, addressing my fears, what's the worst case scenario, and will I be able to face that? um, and also having to ask myself, what do I have to lose? Will I regret it if I don't take that step? So, and that was an important question that I had to ask myself. And the fact that I was feeling stuck, and when you feel stagnated or stuck, it's a very uncomfortable feeling, because I don't think our lives we are meant to stay in that space for too long. Sometimes that can be a good space to be, where we have time to reflect back on what is important in our lives, and then move towards that. So yeah, for me it's like engaging how I'm feeling at that time, and mainly kind of just following that intuition, that inner voice, and that calling was quite persistent, and so I just had to go for it. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you next week.